We're getting high.
We're getting high on something because nano.
We're having a Delta 8 and a Delta 10 party, you guys. Get ready. We're busting loose.
Well, Jeff, you know that I'm going to lay this out here. This is actually one of those right on point situations, but there's a statute in Michigan and a case that addresses this in the Court of Appeals. It's an Attorney General case during the Schuette era. And the Michigan statute that was challenged was that if there is a controlled substance, an illegal controlled substance that a person is possessing illegally, but they are diluting it or effectuating it to reduce the dangerous effects of it, then it is no longer the possession of that possession of or the intention to deliver that illegal substance. We have talked about this. Remember that, Jeff?
Yes, and particularly in the context of CBD,
correct.
THC.
Now,
absolutely. No, we've done that in the context of representing people facing 20 years in jail for having done it. Also, you got the.
So the case was.
For CBD?
This is what happened. The argument
is that we added CBD to the THC. It makes it less harmful.
This is the point. Here's the point. The statute, the defense reads that if you can show that you were adding another drug or another controlled substance to the controlled substance that was illegal, that reduced the harmful effect of it, it was no longer a controlled substance. The one case that went before the Court of Appeals was like a Molly case, I think, or some kind of MDMA, and the guy argued that, but he couldn't show any kind of reduction or whatever the quote-unquote harm was. Now, our position was that if you're charging someone with the illegal possession or manufacturing of marijuana, even though I disagree, the danger, quote-unquote, found by the federal government is the THC and its psychoactive effects. That's the illegality, right? It's really a fight over THC and its joy. But as we know, a lot of plants have been bred intentionally to have higher CBD in it. Yep. That offsets the psychoactive effect and has more
some that get to the point that they're legally classified as hemp.
So in conjunction with the testimony of the possession of the plant and or the possession of the marijuana, a caregiver, I've come to find, because they all testified about this, would say things like, yeah, I grow a certain type of plant, and that 4 pounds of marijuana, we would test it first, because if it doesn't have a certain percentage of CBD in the ratio to the THC, I'm going to discard it because I only provide that combination to my patient. And it's partly for a medical defense, but also it gives the other argument. You kind of setting forth the argument. But it's, and a lot of people were like, a lot of people would, I remember one in particular testified about the curing down to a certain amount of dryness so that all the cannabinoids were popping, specifically trying to enhance some of the CBD driven cannabinoids in there and whatnot, but for the purposes of offsetting the cycle. Anyways, so what I was getting at, Jeff, as you know, this sounds like that may be this, because the CBD that this is being made from has this damn trace amounts of THC in there. That damn amount, those trace amounts, that 0.3%, damn it, that dangerous CBD. So what are we going to do with it? We're going to do that, whatever it is, to make it Delta 8, which is not that dangerous THC-laden CBD, right? There you go, Jeff. That's a winner. Come on, right? This THC, you're moving it from that dangerous Delta 9, that fucking trace shit that's in the CBD, and you're fucking doing some shit to it, and you're moving it out of that dangerous Delta 9. You know, right? Because I know CBD is not illegal, but it does have that damn trace 0.3% of old fucking Dangerland THC. How else could you make it more safe than to
It
create
certainly
Delta
could
8
be.
and take all of that fucking Delta 9 out of it.
Point 0.04% instead of 0.03, and then you'd be busted.
I'm assuming that the pure Delta.
Wouldn't it suck to go down for having pounds and pounds and pounds of hemp, and it just tested like, just like right above that threshold, and you're like, what are you in for, man? Oh, I'm in for like 12 pounds of hemp.
Well, wait a minute.
Man.
It was 0.0.
First of all,
Way to go! You'd have to puff the story.
in Michigan, that would be a at worst a civil infraction or a misdemeanor, non-punishable by jail.
Sure?
It should be.
Are you
Well,
sure
that's
out of the
not
Wayne
the real
County
downside.
Prosecutor's Office, or are you sure?
I'm saying if it's not
out of
hemp,
Eaton County
if
Prosecutor's
it's not hemp, I want to talk about my whole thing with the fucking danger here. I'm saying CBD is legal. But by
dangerous.
virtue of it being from the hemp plant, and part of its legality is that you can have up to 0.3% THC, right? And that is legal, and no one's complaining about it. But let's be honest, THC is dangerous, says the federal government. And even though they've honored the legality and permissiveness of the
Schedule 1.
CBD with its trace amounts, we're going to take it one step further in the safety zone here, and we're going to eliminate the Delta 9 trace amounts, or the THC, and we're going to create this Delta 8. Is there any Delta 9? No Delta 9 is in the Delta 8. Is that fair to say?
What, pretty much all Delta 8, when you look at it, the hump on the charts or on the testing right above it, right before it is the hump of Delta 9.
There you go.
So that's why depending on the actual testing method, like you had mentioned before, like most of the DEA labs are going to be using, HPLC and something like that, more about where it's degarbing and doing those types of things because they're looking at more of the total THC and all that. Other labs are just going to go basically looking strictly at, Delta 9. And if it doesn't show up and it shows up as Delta 8, they're just saying, oh, it's Delta 9 free. I see that on packaging all the time. On vape cartridge packaging, boldly stating, that they are Delta 9 free, which is a complete lie, because they're still probably going to have 0.3, if anything.
The idea of synthetic THC or Delta 9 THC is that there's no CBD, there's no, CBG, there's no anything else. It's just they've figured out a combination of
just the Delta 9. And there are ones that are like 98% pure that are like that are more of that's been removed.
I know that, but I'm saying that to me is not synthetic, Jeff. That's more of a Jeff. You know what I'm saying there? Like the synthetic.
I think the word you're looking for is isolate. You can have a synthetic isolate, or you can have a synthetic blend. You can have. The question is whether or not, this is.
It carries over though. They're not producing, like he's saying that the Delta 8 in the process that they're going through here from a CBD extraction takes with it the THC. That's not eliminated. You know what I mean? And I imagine then the next question would be, do these other cannabinoids that are associated with CBD, do they come along with it, or are they precluded from? Because now we're not talking about a synthetic anymore, Jeff, are we?
I don't know. I'm not a chemist here, but I read you the thing. Here's how you do it. You take the CBD and you add sulfuric acid and acetic acid to it, and you let it sit, and it goes from an extremely low Delta 8 concentration to extremely high Delta 8 concentration, and then in the next process, you purify it. So I think it can be both synthetic and a blend. I think the question is whether or not this is synthetic, and I think that you run a danger of. If you ask Ken Stecker, what do you think he would say?
Oh, felony synthetic.
Oh, right. If you ask the Michigan State Police or the Prosecutors Association or PAM or their drug codes or anything else, you're giving these guys a chance. And I think that the downside isn't so much that. The downside is that it's going to invite a whole lot more police presence into the hemp industry, which we've been working very hard to keep police out of the hemp industry, because they're going to go after this. They're not going to let this stand.